AM 560, The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com. Now, from the Signature Bank Studios. Only the biggest stories, only the biggest guests, and only the biggest opinions. This is AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan Propp here. Scott Bessent, he's the Treasury Secretary. He is previewing good things for me and you, excuse my Bodine's reference, with the impact of the BBB to take full effect in fiscal year 2026, including, since we're full in income tax season here, enhanced refunds this year. Take a listen.
What we are going to see next year, that if you think about the signature parts of the tax bill, I think that the most powerful parts had the immediate expensing for American business, permanent for equipment, and then 4 or 5 year window for factories. So we are already seeing a CapEx boom. So 2025 was a CapEx boom. I think that is going to accelerate with all the trade deals we've done. I was just about 6 weeks ago in my hometown of Charleston, South Carolina. Boeing, the largest employer there, is increasing their plant by 50% for the Dreamliners, result of the trade deals, but it's also part of the tax deal. So we're going to continue seeing this CapEx boom that turns into an employment boom. On the other side, for working Americans, the president, I led the administration's team up on the Hill in terms of what was non-negotiable for the president. And a lot of traditional Republicans didn't like his campaign promises to working Americans, and the president never yielded on this. So no tax on tips, no tax on overtime, no tax on Social Security, deductibility of auto loans for American-made cars. So the bill was done on July 4th. It's retroactive to the beginning of the year for working Americans, retroactive to January 20th for corporates. So working Americans, I also had the honor of being the IRS commissioner, and I can see that we're going to have a gigantic refund year in the first quarter because working Americans did not change their withholding. So I think households could see, depending on the number of workers, $1,000, $2,000 refunds. They will change their withholding schedule at the beginning of the year, and they will get an automatic increase in real wages.
So, of course, that was Scott Bessent previewing 2026. That was on the All In podcast. So he's talking, prospectively about this year, but it's good to refresh everybody's recollection, considering we're now in that Q1 that he was describing. And he's not wrong. The news out yesterday, a trade deal that was inked between the United States and Japan, $550 billion trade deal with Prime Minister Takachi, that's Trump and Takachi. And it was funny listening to people criticizing Marco Rubio's speech in Munich, talking about, it's so Western-oriented. How is that going to sit with our friends in the Far East? And it's going to sit quite well. It's not, and there's no antagonism directed at Japan or our other allies when we extol the virtues of Western civilization, as evidence here. Oil and gas projects in Texas and Ohio, critical minerals in Georgia. A good example of this is a plant groundbreaking that took place in San Antonio. Senko, which is a Japanese plastic maker. Here's a local affiliate reporting on that.
Within the next 2 years, Senko will build on this land, their first manufacturing facility in the United States, right here in San Antonio. Now, many county and city officials that attended the groundbreaking today say that this is going to help build and strengthen the relationship with Japan. Blessing the land during a groundbreaking today, just across from the Toyota plant on Watson Road. The facility belonging to the Japanese company Senko will produce plastic bins and pallets.
And we are meeting the needs of the advanced manufacturing training jobs that are necessary, and we're going to expand.
According to Bexar County Judge Peter
I wonder why they didn't pick Illinois. Stephen Moore is economist, author of the Trump Economic Miracle and the Plan to Unleash Prosperity Again, co-authored with Art Laffer. Steve, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Hey, Dan. Good to be with you.
So are we on schedule with Scott Bessen's predictions? And you made similar ones, yes?
Yeah, I'm pretty bullish right now. I mean, look, all the news that we've gotten in the last 3 or 4 weeks on the economy has been very positive. We got a great employment report last week with, surprisingly good hiring by firms. And then we saw real wages rising. We saw more and more Americans entering the workforce, which is a good thing. And then inflation is now headed, was 9% under Biden. It's slowly drifted down. And then the downward drift is accelerated under Trump. We're at 2.4% inflation now, and we're headed to the Fed target of 2%, which is, and we'd like to get under that. And one other quick thing, I just am so excited about Kevin Warsh. He is the absolute perfect pick to run the Fed. He understands that growth does not cause inflation. He understands that what we want from our monetary policy is a stable dollar that retains its value, and also that we continue to have the dollar as the world reserve currency. So I'm quite optimistic about the direction of things, and I agree with Scott Bessent in that clip that you played, that the lower tax rates and the immediate expensing for capital purchases has caused a boom in
CapEx
spending on things like manufacturing, plants, equipment, machinery, research and development. So right now we are the alpha male of the world economy, no question about it.
Well, there's still some beta males in charge in places like New York City, where Mamdani, the commie, is the mayor. And
by the way, did you see yesterday he put out a tweet saying, really not much we can do. We're going to have to raid the pension fund and raid the policeman fund and raise property taxes.
Well, exactly. That's where I'm getting to. I want you to, because I want you to hear what he said on that score, because it's such the great classic leftist formulation. Either we tax the rich or tax everybody. Talk about a Hobson's choice, but take a listen and get your reaction.
But I want to be clear. $5.4 billion is still a very steep mountain to climb. And there are two paths that we can walk. One that offers long-term stability, and a second one with significant pain that we deeply hope to avoid. The first path repairs the structural imbalance between the city and the state. We want to work with Albany to raise personal income taxes by 2% on the 33,000 New Yorkers earning more than $1 million a year, and to raise corporate taxes on the most profitable corporations. And we know that for far too long, New Yorkers have given far more to the state than what we have received in return. It is time to end the drain. If we cannot follow this first path, we will be forced onto a much more damaging path of last resort, one where we have to use the only tools at the city's disposal, raising property taxes and raiding our reserves. The second path,
and the property tax hike on everybody would be upwards of 10%. So it's one of those, 2%. Is a 2 percentage point increase on income taxes for the millionaires, or everybody takes the 10% hit on their property taxes.
Yeah, and I didn't see him mention anything about maybe shaving a little spending off. I mean, look, New York City spends almost twice as much per person as the average city in America. Almost twice as much. I think the only city that even comes close is San Francisco. And so the idea, he said the other day, there are no efficiencies or savings that we can make in our budget. Really? They have a $110 billion budget, and there's no savings to make?
No.
I mean, can you imagine the CEO saying that? Again, I want to repeat this. They spend twice as much per person for lousy services than does I think they may even spend more than Chicago.
No, but I'm sure that's the case on a per capita basis. I think Chicago has more debt per capita than New York. I know that. But just that whole, like, either the rich get it or everybody gets it. I mean, that formulation, right? That's what needs to be addressed, is the premise he starts from, which is that class warfare premise, which you would expect from a Marxist.
You know what's so sad about this, Dan? Because I lived for several years in Manhattan when I was at the Wall Street Journal, which was my favorite job ever. And, that was a fun job. And anyway, so I was half-time in New York City, in Manhattan, and half-time in D.C. And that was at about the time that Rudy Giuliani was elected mayor. And, look, I know Rudy has his faults, but you could see day by day the city getting better. You could just see, and these were not radical reforms. He just cut some of the taxes. He got crime off the street. He got rid of the graffiti. He made sure the public services work, and people wanted to be in New York again. And he helped revive that city. And here we are, 20 years later, and Mamdani is just doing exactly the opposite. It's so sad to see, because New York City is one of the maybe the most important city in the world. And it's being ruined by, quote, progressive policies that are making it an unlivable place.
Listen to this in Chicago, since you know the city well, as you do Manhattan in New York. Mm-hmm. Office sales, recent office sales. This was compiled by a local management consultant. All in basically the greater Loop area. 250 South Wacker. It sold for $90 million in 2011, 23.8 million, down 74%. 175 West Jackson sold for $306 million in 2018, 41 million, down 87%. 600 West Chicago sold for $510 million in 2018, 89 million.
Yeah,
down 82%.
Sounds like what they're going to have to do is raise the property taxes.
Well, exactly. No, but I mean,
that's their logic, right?
And by the way, there are more tower cranes at Fort Myers Airport than there are on Chicago skyline. I mean, it is a sclerotic, dying city, and it's the same way with all of these major urban centers. There was a piece in the New York Times about maybe we have to start new cities, and I know that's afoot with some Silicon Valley billionaires in California. But I mean, this like under the leadership of mayors like Brandon Johnson and Zoran Mamdani and others around the country, Karen Bass. I mean, you really are getting to a tipping point in terms of the future viability of these places.
Well, let me say this too: that when you get a mayor like Mamdani or your mayor there in Chicago, Brandon Johnson, they're very good talkers. They're like university professors, and they're very good in front of a microphone, and they smile, but they not only they ideologically to the left, but the other thing we've discovered with Mamdani, he's only been in office for 2 months, is he's completely incompetent. I mean, this guy couldn't run a 3-car parade. So when they had the snowstorm in New York, for 3 weeks they weren't even able to collect the garbage. For goodness sakes, you've seen the photographs of the rabbis having to shovel the snow and pick up and help the garbage collectors, because in other words, these people aren't just ideological; they don't know how to do anything.
Well, right. I mean, they're twin. Those two things are complements. So, I mean, Karen Bass with the Pacific Palisades fire, Brandon Johnson with just about everything. So, I mean, of course, because they were elevated based strictly on their, ideological disposition. There is no qualifications that were required in terms of their management ability, and it shows.
Well, remember, Dan, the old joke about Mussolini. He made the trains run on time. Well, these idiots can't even make the trains run on time.
Yeah, and that wasn't enough for it to not end badly for Mussolini, if I recall.
Exactly.
Steve.
Look, I mean, this is the whole story of America, though. Right now, I mean, we had a piece in our hotline the other day. If you look at the cities that are that have the highest cost of buying a house. It's basically New York. It's Chicago. Even though people are leaving, it's still really expensive to buy places in some of these big cities like New York and Philadelphia and San Francisco and Chicago. And then you look at the cities that are the cheapest, where the housing is the least expensive. It's San Antonio. It's Tampa. It's Houston. And by the way, Houston and San Antonio are huge cities. Austin is cheap. Why is that? Because there's far fewer regulations on building housing in these places. So, in other words, liberal blue city mayors make everything more expensive, which is the ironic thing because the Democrats' line right now is affordability.
Stephen
What do
Moore,
they make affordable?
Right. Stephen Moore, economist, author of The Trump Economic Miracle and the Plan to Unleash Prosperity. Again, Steve, thank you as always.
Okay. See you, Dan. Have a great week. Bye.
You too. And Steve joined us on Chicago's Morning Answer.
Opinion, insight. This is Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
You know what really keeps me up at night? It's the criminals feel more and more bold. They have no fear of any